Well, good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. Here once again to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. And I will tell you who's coming up on this show in just a little bit. But I appreciate you joining me. If you're all watching the live version, thank you. And if you're watching the recorded version, I appreciate that as well. I also do live streams every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock with a very original title. I call them Wednesday Night Live. And next week for Wednesday Night Live, we'll be at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. Pretty much sold out, but you might still be able to sneak in 989-343-0892 for reservations, 989-343-0892 for reservations. Andrew, good morning. How are you? Appreciate you joining me on this edition of Behind the Mic. Mike behind the mic. Actually, two mics. My social media mic, the one that I'm using right now, and then this mic over here, which is my official broadcast microphone. Hey, Tim, good morning. How are you, buddy? Look forward to seeing you and Jen next week. Robert, how are things in the Eastern UP? Hopefully, as beautiful and pretty as they are downstate, because it's a beautiful morning downstate, as yesterday was a beautiful day, wasn't it? Like 73 degrees, something like that. Tommy, good morning, buddy. How you doing? Always a pleasure to have you along with us, as it is all of my friends who are able to join us on Wednesday night. Behind the mic, and of course on Wednesday Night Live as well. Look at who just snuck in there. Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. Johnny, buddy, good morning. How are you? Hey, Corey. Live from the Saginaw River pre-fishing. And how's it going, Corey? Robert said, awesome. Ice out. Captain Jim. Oh, be at the Lumberjack. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that, Jim. Robert, good morning. How are you? Uncle Johnny. How you guys feeling? You and Aunt Debbie, how you feeling this morning? Jim, good morning. How are you? Hello, Scott. Johnny Bowler says, good morning, Uncle Johnny. Johnny Craves. Everybody knows my brother-in-law, John Craves, now as Uncle Johnny. Uncle Johnny will be at our Wednesday Night Live next week. Jerry, good morning. How are you? It is a beautiful day. Who's on the show this week? I will get to that. I'll get to that. Hey, Tony, good morning, buddy. How are you? How's the crow hunting going, Tony? I actually got to take the edge off my fishing cravings yesterday. Fished the Tittabawassee from shore. Corey says the water is chocolate milk. It was like that up in the Tittabawassee yesterday, and the current was ripping. Absolutely ripping. Hey, Craig. Good morning, buddy. How are you? Craig's one of the good guys on this earth. Johnny says, Bowler says, afraid no bad fire danger up here. Interesting, Johnny Bowler, that you would bring that up, because one of my guests on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, his name is Paul Rogers. He's from the DNR. He's not the same Paul Rogers from Bad Company. Think about that for a minute. And if you even know what that means, you got gray in your hair. And he's talking about the early fire season, Johnny. Who snuck in there? Brad, good morning. Ed Rutherford. Ed, I really enjoyed our conversation on this most recent Offshore Tackle podcast. I would encourage people to check that out. Ed Rutherford has been on the water of the Great Lakes more than half a century as a working fishing guide and charter captain. And he has some insight into the fishery and just a wealth of knowledge and experience. You can hear my conversation with him if you go to offshoretackle.com. That's offshoretackle.com. And you can hear the latest Offshore Tackle podcast with Ed Rutherford. Trini, good morning. How are you? Trini, what's it? I got to ask you, with your years in the state legislature and now, what are you doing now? You farming? I don't remember. Anyway, Trini, nice to have you with us. Ed says, right on the fire danger. Oh, Tony says, check out your messages from yesterday. I will, Tony. I didn't get a chance to look at them yet, but I will do that. And this camera's driving me crazy. I got to move it over just a little bit. So, okay, now we got to reposition. There. That's a better angle for me. Hey, Brent, good morning. How are you? Tracy, the kids? Hunter Joe. Six Iditarod attacked by moose, having to put it down, critically injured one of his dogs. I heard that he killed a moose and gutted it on the trail. That's pretty hardcore. That's Alaska for you, isn't it? Zach, thank you, Zach. Appreciate that. Keep going after those song dogs. Danny Johnson, good morning. Danny, thank you for your contribution to our recent Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and auction. I appreciate that. Ross Elliott, Mr. Skinny. I'm looking forward to seeing Ross at Wednesday Night Live next Wednesday night at 7:00 at the Lumberjack Restaurant. The guy's wasting away to nothing. I'm proud of you, buddy. John Callison, good morning. How is life after school? Robert says 2-foot water drop on the St. Mary's River. 2 feet. Holy cow. Jeremy's making maple syrup this morning. How cool is that? John's rubbing it in. He's just back from Cancun. A month? You spent a month in Cancun? I don't think I've ever been to Cancun. Maybe I have. Acapulco, yes. Well, Corey, I'm glad you did say hi, buddy. Good fishing to you. Good luck. I think your tournament's this weekend, right? Hope you do very well. Randy, good morning. Glad to hear that, Brent. Aditya. Ever since Quinny did that, Aditya, that's Aditya. My son-in-law, Aditya. How you doing, bud? Tim, good morning. How are you? Steve Rivet, my fellow Trinity brother. The Spring Peepers were talking last night. Captain Mark Pananzak checking in from Lake Erie. How's the fishing down there, Mark? Thank you also for your generosity. Let us know how you're doing down there on Lake Erie. Send me some pictures. I'll post them for you too, if you want. But anyway, Mark, nice to see you along with us. I heard you had a nickname, Penny. My brother-in-law, Uncle Johnny Craves, says, oh yeah, we've known this guy as Penny forever. Pananzak, it's just like Smith, only with more letters. Daryl Godden, how are things in White River? I suspect you're done with your wolf hunting season this year. Probably, did you have to call it quits a little early because of the weather or not? And if you're not wrapped up, then let me know that as well. And Daryl, I look forward to seeing you up in White River mid-August. I'll be back up there to bear hunt with Ron this year. I'm looking forward to that. Jim Ward, good morning. How are you? Ed says he's not fishing right now. He's at the subbing in Hillman at the Anatomy and Biology Science. Still at Jay's. Nothing wrong with that. Johnny's cutting trees. He's not plowing. I'm looking forward to the Thunder season chicken too. Thunder chicken season. By the way, did you get your Michigan turkey tag or are you just going to buy one over the counter? More and more, that's what people are doing. They're buying tags over the counter. Like if you get ZZ, which is the hunt that I love, it's the Southern Michigan private land hunt. It runs from April 20th or 21st through the end of May. That's a long time to be chasing birds. So I'm looking forward to that. Steve, good morning. Gene, good morning. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. Dan, good morning. How are you? Okay, some things I want to talk about. One of them was turkey licenses. The drawings have been announced. Or if you're in an area that has a lot of tags, you just go get one over the counter. What else? Oh, I had a chance to go fishing yesterday. It was kind of a throwback to the early days of when I used to fish walleye. We went up in the Tittabawassee River, not in a boat, but from shore. My son James, his buddy Mike Smith, Mike's my buddy now too, Mike. Just casting jigs. I was casting a body bait. James caught one sucker. I mean, the water was high. It was fast. It was dirty. We didn't expect to catch fish, although there's a bunch of them in there right now, but it was 70 degrees and it was a nice day to be on the river. What else? Oh, listen to this. Okay. Doug Ward. Good morning, Doug. Deep water bite yesterday afternoon showed some good fish. Good luck, Doug. Excellent, Scott. Okay. Remember I was telling you the story about how I have a suppressor waiting for me at Jay's Sporting Goods? I went up there and I filled out the paperwork and I paid my $200 federal tax stamp and I jumped through all the hoops and I followed up with some emails and some forms and some signatures and some certifications and some verifications. It used to be that when you got a suppressor, it used to take maybe a year to get the paperwork done. When I was up there, Gina said they've been moving along pretty good, like 4 to 5 months, which was fine as long as I just want to have it in time for my, hopefully, my fall bear hunt with Johnny Bowler. Listen to this. I got an email last week from the feds, ATF. The email said, "Congrats, your application has been approved." 3 weeks to the day from when I submitted my suppressor paperwork, it was approved. 3 weeks. Now I haven't picked it up yet. 40 birds showed up out of thin air. That's nice. Hey, Scott. Hey, Scott, while you're here, you wanted me to remind folks that the Walleye for Warriors boat captain sign up starts Friday morning at 7 a.m. Go to walleyesforwarriors.org, walleyesforwarriors.org, if you want to be a boat captain for this wonderful event. Now, just to be clear, you don't have to be a licensed charter captain to be a boat captain. If you want to take some vets out on Saginaw Bay after a great day of walleye fishing, go to walleyesforwarriors.org. The sign up starts Friday morning at 7. Daryl says he's pretty much done now. Okay. Yeah. You had a good season, though, Daryl? Good season? 120 million from ATF. Interesting. Well, we've got some things planned along that line, Nathan. So, yes, you're absolutely right. Tom, good morning. How are you? Let me continue on with what I'm talking about here, obviously, with what I'm talking about, so I don't run out of time. The suppressor thing makes me think of Paul Phillips, which makes me think of Wednesday Night Live for next week at the Lumberjack. It's pretty much sold out, but you might be able to sneak in 989-343-0892 for reservations. My guests this time around include Brad Dupuis, Mr. Angler Quest, Nick DeShano of Offshore Tackle will join us, Paul Phillips, the extreme long range shooter. Paul and I have been knocking around a couple of ideas, and he might be ready to make a big announcement next Wednesday night. He will be there. He'll bring one of his long-range guns. You can check that out if you want. And Steve Wyndham from MUCC as well. We're going to have some product to give away, as we always do. I just got delivery of a very nice Rapid River knife from Chris Durson. We'll be giving that away. Offshore, Nick DeShano is going to bring in, I think, some boards to give away. Michigan brand meat. Now, Nick Grillo is not going to be able to join us, but he's going to send me north with some Michigan brand to give away. Rec broadheads. The Taggart guys can't make it, but they're sending some broadheads to give away. And I've got 2 Primal Vision blinds to give away. Now, the Vision is the new version of the Wraith that I love so much. It's a different camo pattern, and it's got brush loops sewn into it. So that's pretty cool. Okay, let me go back to some city. Craig, I'm going to do Walleye for Warriors event with the AQ. Excellent, Craig. Excellent. The AQ is a great platform, as you know. Rocky says his suppressor paperwork took 6 months. Yeah, 3 weeks, Rocky. 3 weeks to the day from when I submitted it. I got the email from ATF saying your status has been changed to approved. In 3 weeks. Like I said, I haven't picked it up yet. It's there's no great rush now that I know I have it. But how cool is that? I do want to get that thing out in the range. What I need to do with that Brenton 350, though, is I got to put a different scope on it. When I picked it up from the factory, there was a very nice loophole scope on there, but it's a 1x4. And I need something longer. If I get like a 3x9 with a bigger objective lens so it can gather more light. So I need to put a new scope on there before I get too concerned about putting on a suppressor and dialing it in and sighting it, because the first thing is I need a new scope. A Leupold's a great scope. In fact, if I can trade it towards another scope, I will. It's worth something. Daryl Godden, my buddy up in White River, the Wolf Guide from White River says, lucky guys, we don't get to have fun with any stuff like that. In fact, Daryl, you can't even I know you can't have an AR-15, but I couldn't even bring my AR into Ontario to hunt with. Thank you, Trudeau. I feel like you guys think about Trudeau the same way I think about what's her name? What's her name in Lansing? Yes, Tim. Although, Tim, I can't guarantee your wait times will be low. I just think that maybe the suppressor gods were smiling on me. Thank you, Scott. I'm looking forward to turkey season. Kevin, Prophet. Hey, buddy. Kevin, I want you to know I tried to send you a message via Facebook and it wouldn't let me. I was trying to either respond to something you sent me or I was trying to reach out and contact you first and I couldn't, it wouldn't let me. Kevin Hannes from the West Branch Country Club. Great day for golf. You played yesterday. Kevin, so I'm going to see you next Wednesday, right? At that meeting. Kevin says lots of Jakes in Clare County, but no Longbeards yet. Okay, before I run out of time, let me tell you who's on the Outdoor Magazine radio show this week. My first guest, and this is so exciting, his name is Tom Andrus. He's from the Great Lakes Salmon Initiative. These guys picked up the torch when I don't want to say I dropped it, but I stepped aside because they were better organized. The concept of increasing the number of rods that a Great Lakes trolling angler can use. MUCC had a resolution in opposition to this. Now, the resolution, I love MUCC, but I think this particular resolution was not a good one because I think it was based on some bad information. And I think maybe it was pushed as a personal agenda by some people, as all resolutions are. I mean, I had a personal agenda when I brought it up, so there's nothing wrong with that. But last weekend at the MUCC convention, Ed Blissick and Tom Andrus from the Great Lakes Salmon Initiative were there to respond to those concerns and speak to the delegates. And the resolution in opposition of that failed. Now, MUCC has not come out in support of it yet, but at least the opposition from MUCC is gone. I am quite optimistic that by the summer of 2025, Great Lakes trolling anglers will be able to use more rods than we currently do. And this is something I've been talking about for a few years now. So good job to those guys. Tom is my first guest. And then Bob Miller. Bob is a guy who reached out to me. He says, Mike, I have an interesting service. He said, I have this service that works with Michigan hunters to help them find hunts across the country and book those hunts and get those tags. So I'm going to be talking to him about that. And he said it's a working man's budget, which I thought was pretty cool. In our second hour, Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods. I want to talk to Jeff about what that new building is at Jay's and what's going on up there. Then Paul Rogers of the DNR. Again, not Paul Rogers from Bad Company, Paul Rogers of the DNR, talking about fire danger this spring and how we're going to have an early, probably, wildfire season. And in our third hour, we're talking turkey with Charlie Wiltsey of Primal Outdoors. And of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. Speaking of Dixie Dave, he is our guest chef at the Lumberjack next Wednesday night. That is pretty cool. Hey, Andy. No. The water was really high, really fast, really dirty. We caught one sucker, no walleye. But it's interesting. Those two spots you suggested to me, the one spot below the bridge there is the spot where I actually years and years and years ago caught my first ever limit of walleye, was fishing from shore right at that spot you're talking about. And the fish were so aggressive that day. I was throwing a jig and a twister's tail. And I actually saw walleye follow my jig up into like 4 inches of water and then flare off. So that, yeah, I see now you can't park right there, though. You got to go down the road and come back. That second spot you talked about, there is a bend just upstream from there, and there's a big hole there. We used to have a name for that, and I'm not going to even put it out here now because I don't want to give away your honey hole. But that was the spot. That was the spot. So I appreciate your your suggestions. Didn't work out. We didn't get to those spots, by the way. We fished the Maple Road Bridge and we went down to Immerman, and we could just see it was, I don't want to say a waste of time because it was a nice day, but okay. Hello, Josh. Hello, Brian, checking in from Vegas. What are you doing? I'm looking forward to it as well, Tim. Okay. I'm sure you do, Andy. Okay. In about, I don't know, a little over 30 seconds, I got to switch gears here from what I'm doing with you guys to recording the radio show. I will not be able to directly interact with you to answer your questions, to post your comments, but I'll be back here tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. I hope you can join me. And of course, next week, 7 o'clock, Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant, 989-343-0892. 989-343-0892. 10, 9. Oh, it's tomorrow, Josh. Oh, that's right. Thank you, Josh, for that reminder. 1, blast off. I'm recording this on my phone, and Siri thinks that Siri's supposed to be talking right now, so he's giving me all this advice. You don't have any scheduled reminders due tomorrow. Don't worry about it, Siri. We got it. Got it. And just in case you think I'm bluffing, no, here it is. See? I really do have to go to work. Can't call it work, can you? Not when it's this much fun. 989-343-0892 for reservations for the Lumberjack next Friday or next Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. I'll be back tonight, 7 o'clock, for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. Have a good day, my friends. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. Yes, indeed. In the world of podcasts, this is an out radio show. It is a beacon of light. It is a beacon of hope. It is a ray of sunshine in a media world that is cluttered. Oh, I'm getting a little carried away here. Anyway, I'm so glad you're along with us. I do appreciate it. Look at that. A lot of things you could be doing right now, a lot of things you could be listening to right now. So the fact that you hear my voice means a lot to me, and I do certainly appreciate it. How was your week? Anything fun since we've last talked? You get out and do anything, any fishing, anything like that? Take advantage of the weather? I did. Went down to the river, the Tittabawassee River. A river that I'm quite familiar with, although I don't fish much at all anymore. I used to fish it out of a boat. I used to have a river boat, not a river boat like a West Coast river boat, but I had a 17-foot Tuffy with a 70-horse Yamaha on the back, bow mount trolling motor. It was a perfect river boat. Oh, I used to spend a lot of time on the Saginaw River and the Tittabawassee River. The first limit of walleye I ever caught was fishing from shore on the Tittabawassee River. Season there, by the time you hear the radio show, has closed. So we wanted to get down there and take advantage of the nice weather. My son James called me up. He texted me and said, "Hey, you want to go fishing tomorrow? Just down to the river?" I'm like, "Yeah." His buddy Mike Smith came along as well. And we were throwing jigs and twister tails. I was throwing body baits and didn't really expect too much, even though the river is full of fish right now. But the water was very dirty. It was very high. It was very fast. And it was very tough to fish from shore. The only fish we got was a sucker. James caught a sucker. But you know what? It didn't really matter. We're all looking at each other, kind of smiling, going, "Yeah, today's one of these days. It doesn't matter if you catch any fish or not." It was just nice. The only thing about it that wasn't nice, I saw my first snake of the season. I don't like snakes. I'm kind of afraid of snakes. I'm a big sissy when it comes to snakes. Even this little garter snake, and people call them gardener snakes, but they're garter snakes. Maybe 15 inches long, if that. And as we're walking, he's slithering away. But believe me, garter snake, I was more afraid of you than you were of me. My grandson Trent used to tease me when he's a little guy. He loves snakes. He loves to pick them up. He'd pick them up and he'd hold 'em in my face, say, "See, Grandpa, are you afraid of this?" I'm like, "Yes, Trent, I'm afraid of that." There's no rational reason to be afraid of it. I know it's not gonna hurt me. It's not gonna attack me. I just don't like snakes. And one of the worst experiences I ever had with snakes, and I've never seen a rattlesnake, thank God. I heard one when I was a kid rattle on a creek that we were fishing with my dad, but I never saw it. But several years ago, I was out turkey hunting in the spring, and I was hunting out of an old Ameristep blind. And the blind, when I left, because it was on the edge of a field, what I would do when I leave is I would collapse it. I would leave it staked into the ground, but I would collapse it so it was flat, just so it didn't cause attention, draw attention. So I go out there in the morning. It's a really chilly, frosty morning, and I pop the blind back up. I get in there. I sit on my stool. I put my thermos down next to me. I got my bowl. Coffee's all ready to go. Okay. Just about daylight, I reach down to pick up my thermos. 'Cause I'm thinking, good hot cup of coffee sounds really good right now. And when I reached down, I felt something, and it wasn't my thermos. And it felt cold, and it just didn't feel right. And then it moved. I screamed like a little girl, jumped up, threw the blind off over my head, and ran back several yards to let the two snakes that were in there, slither off. They had come in there because that blind had attracted heat and it was warmer in there. And they were all cuddled up and curled up in there. And Avery, the big dumb guy, comes in there and screws up their morning. Well, listen, snakes, you screwed up my morning too. Speaking of turkeys, did you get your turkey tag yet? The drawing results were released last week. Or are you gonna wait and get one over the counter? These days, it's almost, I think, more people get their tags maybe over the counter than get them on the draw. I haven't seen the numbers, but I know more people are just waiting to buy them over the counter. They say, "Why spend the extra, what is it, $5? I'll just get it over the counter." And if you hunt in one of the seasons and one of those of the state where there are always leftover tags, why not? For example, I always hunt, well, recently, ZZ, the Southern Michigan private land season, which starts like April 20th or 21st and runs right on through the end of May. It's basically a 6-week season, 5, 6 week season. For me, it's wonderful. And I think the only time ZZ has ever sold out was during COVID. So yeah, you can just get that over the counter. I don't know for sure when the over the counter tags go on sale, but keep an eye on that. Michigan.gov/DNR, Michigan.gov/DNR. Okay, some really interesting news this week. I told you I got a call from the folks at Jay's Sporting Goods. This is just before the firearm opener. They said, "Mike, we have a suppressor here for your Brenton 350 Legend." I said, "I didn't know anything about that. Can I come up and pick it up?" And they just laughed at me and said, "No, no, no, it's not quite that easy." So, knowing I wasn't going to have it in time for gun season, I was in no great rush, but I wanted to have it in time for bear hunting this fall. Hopefully, I'm going to get a tag this fall in Michigan here. And so 3 weeks ago, 3.5 weeks ago, I went up to Jay's and I filled out the paperwork. I paid my 200 some dollar federal tax stamp. I got on their kiosk. I had my picture taken. I gave them all kinds of information and we submitted it. Now, it used to be when you applied for a suppressor, it might take a year, 14 months, maybe more. Recently, Gina Cannell of Jay's, she's the manager of the gun department of the Claire store. When I said, "Gina, how long can I expect to wait?" She says, "They've been running about 4 to 5 months." And I thought, okay, that's okay. I'll have it in time for my Michigan bear hunt. 3 weeks from the day that I submitted my paperwork, I got an email from the ATF saying the status of your application has been changed to approved. My suppressor paperwork went through and was approved in 3 weeks to the day. That's like almost unheard of. Now, was it a fluke? Did I just luck out? Or is the system more efficient? I doubt that, but 3 weeks. So I need to get up there. I need to get that suppressor, but before I get too concerned about, getting that suppressor on there and dialing the gun in and making sure everything's good to go, I need to get a new scope for that gun. I've got a Leupold 1x4 scope on there, and it's just not enough. I need to get like a 3x9 with a bigger objective lens for more light gathering. So that's step number one. I'll get a better scope for that. Well, I'll go up and pick up the suppressor. While I'm there, I'll probably get a scope too. Hey, next Wednesday night, the 20th, this Wednesday night, coming up the 20th, we're going to do a Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch, Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant. We are pretty much sold out, but I think we could sneak in a few more. If you would like to join us, the number to call, and I hate giving out numbers on the air, but it's 989-343-0892, or do a Google search for Lumberjack Restaurant West Branch. The contact number will be there. Joining us at that event, Brad Dupuis, Mr. Angler Quest, Nick DeShano of Offshore Tackle, Extreme Long Range Shooter Paul Phillips, Steve Wyndham of MUCC will be joining us as well. Going to give away some product as we always do. I've got a beautiful Rapid River knife from Chris Durson to give away. We've got some offshore products coming in with Nick. Michigan brand, Nick Grillo of Michigan brand can't make it, but he's sending me north with some jerky and a ham to give away as well. Rec broadheads. They're going to send me some broadheads to give away. And I've got 2 Primal Vision blinds. Now, the Vision is the newer version of the Wraith that I love so much. The Vision is a different camo patterns, and it has sewn in brush loops so you can brush it in. So that's going to be a lot of fun. 989-343-0892. And I mentioned Paul Phillips was going to be there. Paul and I have been discussing a couple of things, and there are some pretty exciting things in the works. And if we're lucky, Paul will be able to announce next Wednesday night some very, very cool things coming up. So I hope you can join us for that event. It's at the Lumberjack Restaurant. Call for reservations. You're going to want to make your reservation probably 5:30, 6-ish. Our live stream will start at 7, as all of my Wednesday night lives do. I look forward to seeing you there. If you can't join us, please join us online. That would be great. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show after the break, Tom Andrus of the Great Lakes Salmon Initiative with great news on the quest to increase the number of rods a trolling angler can use on the Great Lakes. Then Bob Miller with some tips on hunting out of state. Second hour, Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods. What's that new building going up there? Then Paul Rogers from the DNR. The wildfire danger, the season's going to be early this year. And in hour number 3, we're talking turkey with Charlie Wilson, of course, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner, who is our guest chef at Wednesday Night Live. It's going to be a great show. I'm glad you're with us right here on Outdoor Magazine. Night is a valuable tool. All right, let me see what we got here. There's a couple of comments before I go. Yeah, love the story of the snake. I didn't like it. Hooked Up Sport Fishing. How you doing? Hello, Dave. I look forward to seeing you. Is Sam going to be with you? I think you got your suppressor okay fast because you have a Coast Guard captain's license. You already had a federal background. Maybe, Cliff. Maybe. I don't know. But I got it fast. All right, my friends. Have a good day. I will be back tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. I hope you can join me then. In the meantime, have a great day.